Hello and welcome to Chosen Lifelines for Women. My name is Charmaine Jennings, where I have been called to challenge and change the worth, willpower, and wisdom of women. In this episode, we're highlighting women with willpower, and the focus today is on a woman who I learned about. And I might be late to the party. That's not anything new for anyone who knows me, but I love learning. And this woman in particular that I want to highlight today, a woman with willpower being the ability to yield to the, making sure that we're not giving into that temptation. We're resisting the temptation, resisting that negative feeling, that negative talk, that negative action or behavior, and doing something just because times are bad or good or whatever. But willpower is that thing that really allows us to get to that long-term goal, to accomplish something, right? Because there's always something that's going to be put before you that, man, if I say yes to this thing, it's really going to put me in a position to say no and getting where I'm going. So not taking the bait, not being distracted by those small things that come up and show up. And so, yes, this woman of willpower, man, she is the youngest of four. She was born in Haarlem, Netherlands. Yes, Haarlem, Netherlands. And one thing I like about her family story is pretty much they were a Christian family, but they pretty much had a passion to support the Jewish people who were being persecuted by the Nazis. And so what they did was, they are a Christian family and they had a business, and what they decided to do is their home, they decided to build a secret room behind, and I'm just going to tell you her name. Her name is Corrie ten Boom. And so she was born in 1892 through 1983. And pretty much as a child, her parents, they wanted to help the Jewish people. And so what they did was they built a secret room behind Corey's bedroom. Okay. And so as a child, up to 6 people could be hidden in this room. And so her family assisted, and guess what? They helped over 800 people flee from the Gestapo. But in 1944, February of 1944, an informant posing as a refugee, they betrayed the Boom family. And so what happened was, pretty much they got caught. And so her and Corey and her entire family, they were thrown in in prison. And her 84-year-old grandfather wound up dying in prison. They wound up moving Corey and her sister, Betsy, to a different prison. And so she was separated from her family. So sometimes helping other people, there are consequences to that. But you know what? When you're doing what's right, when you're doing what you're called to do, again, it's going to require willpower, meaning that, man, she could have felt like, man, this cost us, this cost me my grandfather, this cost my family to be split up and separated. Maybe it even cost them, I'm sure, they became criminals. So I'm sure it cost them even their livelihood. So she was separated from her sister, and then in one of the places that they were put, it was called Ravensbrück. Her sister wound up dying there. So her sister didn't survive. They were not treated well. And so years after she was released, she kept preaching and teaching about the goodness of her faith, which is the goodness of God. And there was a prison guard, apparently, that showed up at one of her speaking engagements where she was preaching and teaching, and they asked for forgiveness. Where are you in your forgiveness journey, and can you forgive? And so one thing I love about her story, Corrie ten Boom, is that she forgave. She forgave this guard who was apparently really brutal. And her sister passed away and didn't even survive the harsh treatment. And so, man, how difficult is that to forgive? Sometimes it's hard for us to forgive people who we know, their offenses aren't even, they're minor. But sometimes we can hold on to that. And you're talking about a woman who was able to be a leader in the very thing she was teaching. Some of us, we want favor, We want mercy, we want grace, we want trust, we want vulnerability, we want all these things, but are we willing to be a leader in it? Are you willing to give it before you have evidence that you're going to receive it? Willpower. I mean, she was able to push past, I'm sure, a lot of emotion, having to see this guard. But you know what? She chose to forgive him. And you know what her prayer was? What were her words? To have willpower, you have to be able to have some good self-talk. And so all of these women that I'm highlighting for willpower, they have some good self-talk. And you know what? Corey Ten Boom's self-talk was this. She says, God, Jesus, help me. I can lift my hand. I can do that much. You supply the feeling. Again, her words were, Jesus, help me. I can lift my hands and do that much. But you supply the feeling. And so she, again, a woman of willpower, when you have willpower, you don't just yield to your feelings. She wasn't in her feelings. She just forgave because she understood that that guard had turned his life around, now had become a believer. And that's what she did. She, again, her willpower allowed her to say, you know what, I'm not going to be in my feelings. My sister died at the behavior and the mistreatment, you know, that we experience at the hands of those guards. But this person is a changed person. And even if the person hadn't changed, I believe she would have still forgiven that individual, because a lot of times people just don't know, right? And so again, these were her words. Jesus, help me. I can lift my hands. I can do that much, but you supply the feeling. And so today I'm going to challenge you. This is your chosen lifeline for women. In having willpower, you will be called to forgive. And hopefully, sometimes you're just going to have to put your hands up and say, I can do that much, meaning I'm not in control of this, but one thing I can do, I can forgive. But you know what? Ask God, ask the higher power, ask the loudest voice in your life to supply the feeling, so that you are not yielding to that. You control your feelings and you allow yourself to forgive. Thank you. This is Charmaine Jennings. And again, this is your chosen lifeline for women. Like, share, and subscribe, and visit us at chosenlifespecialist.com. Thank you.